Catch Trevor May on Foul Territory as well as the Athletics Rates and Barrels podcast. Trevor May joins us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Trevor, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
We are happy the Mariners just swept the Rangers and excited to talk to you about one of the more interesting teams in baseball. So let's start with just your overall impression of Seattle. They've had an up and down season offensively. Currently, though, 8.5 up in the AL West. How do you see this team?
Yeah, I agree fully about the offensive struggles at times, things that probably need to be remedied a little bit or to some extent in order to make a deep playoff run. But the pitching, as advertised, has been their biggest strength and has really carried them even farther than I think a lot of people even thought they would. It's tough to kind of go into a season thinking you got a rotation that's a top 3 rotation and a bullpen that's a top 10 bullpen, and then them overachieve a little bit, but it seems to be happening. And they're taking advantage of kind of a weak division that I didn't see coming either. So, having an almost 9-game lead right here, especially with the woes in the batter's box that you just mentioned, is impressive. And they're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. So, they lost that one game to the White Sox, but fortunately I was there for one of the ones they won. So, they were close games, but they won them. And then at the end of the day, it's just about having more runs than the other team.
Trevor, someone texted into our show, and they said essentially that professional athletes don't have doubts. And I played a little ball back in my day. And I go, there's some doubts there. I think they just do a better job of just getting over it and pushing it to the side and focusing on the mission at hand. If there were any doubts these Mariners might have right now, do you think they have any, or do you feel like they're caught up in this moment of where they are now and just trying to ride this wave?
I think as a group, it's weird. It's individually, I'm sure there's guys got doubts about their performance or whatever, but as a group, it seems like they're all kind of feeding off each other, and the guys who might not be doing as well as they want to right now are still in it and still bought in, and that collectively as a group, they know how good they are. They know what it takes to get to the playoffs. The last couple of years have been a testament to that, and there's just like one more gear maybe they could go to, and they really just want to win the division and just make it not so close like how it always has been, and that it's the same guys. They have the same core group that's been there the last couple of years. So, they've been there, they've done that. They know what it feels like to just miss. They know what it feels like to make it and to get the job done. So they've had the experiences, and there's not a lot that can surprise them at this point, and that really helps alleviate some of the doubt that might creep in without that experience.
You mentioned they're taking advantage of a weak division that you didn't see coming. What do you think happened this year for the Rangers and Astros, and do you see them staying weak?
I don't think it's going to stay this way. I think we've seen even the Astros, like they've had a couple runs here where they kind of got going and they looked a little bit more like old Astros, and then it kind of evens out. So we might be seeing the tail end of their dominance in the division, if not the end. And guys age, and that's just what happens. But their pitching has just been much worse than I think anyone anticipated. Especially the bullpen came out super slow this year, and I had them their bottom 3 with Presley and Hader and Abreu to be maybe the best in the big leagues. It hasn't really been that way yet. It's getting better. So I think they're gonna be there, probably around a little bit closer. But the Texas didn't really do anything in the offseason. They didn't go sign anybody. And frankly, in baseball, if you get a World Series, it's just two-peating or going back to back just is so hard to do in this game because of how different your rosters can be year to year, that it's just not something you go out and spend a bunch of money trying to do. So they won theirs, and I don't want to say there's some complacency there, but I don't blame them for being like, hey, we did the thing. We can save a little or just kind of hang around and see what we can do and not have to go all out like we did last year. And then we have the Angels, who are the Angels, and they seem to not quite do as well as people think they're going to do every single year. And then, and I think the story's out there about the A's. So the A's are playing better than I think they were projected to do, at least up to this point. But Yeah, anyone, if you told anyone that you had the Mariners up 9 games in the mid-June, I think they would have called you crazy. I think they thought the Astros are the big missing kind of domino here, but I anticipate them being, I don't know, closing the gap a little bit, but I don't know if they can fully do it. I don't know if those days are past or not.
Hey, it's always nice to see what the potential is of this team when it comes to some prospects. Obviously, this year you had a couple guys called up lately. Tyler Locklear has been playing some good ball, man. What have you seen out of him?
Yeah, Tyler Locklear. I'll be honest. I hadn't heard much about him. I kind of regret the fact that I didn't pay attention a lot to the prospect pipeline a lot when I was playing. A lot of these guys, while they're playing, try not to do that because they're usually guys coming to take a job. But yeah, he's been impressive. He reminds me a lot. There's a lot of parallels with him and Ty France, and I think that's a good thing. Ty France is a very good player, and he's a big, strong guy. He's caught a couple barrels recently, and we've seen how hard he can hit the ball and how far he can hit it. So he's been a nice surprise and filling in there. And the young guys have come up and fit right in, and it doesn't look like they're putting too much pressure on themselves, which is great. That's something that sometimes teams that are in this position that are trying to kind of pull away, the young guys come up and try to make it all happen at once. And I didn't see that when I was at the game the other day, and I haven't seen that much from them lately either. So guys are contributing. It looks like they're comfortable right away. That clubhouse seems like a good clubhouse to be a young guy in. And all of those things are a good recipe for success.
Hey, I got kind of a tough one, but Bump and I earlier were talking about the road splits pitching-wise with the Mariners. And Trevor, I'm sure you could look at T-Mobile and go, well, it's a pitcher-friendly park, so maybe that accounts for a lot of it. You see a split with the Padres, for instance, too. Whereas not nearly as much of a split with the Orioles or Yankees in their road or home ERA. But what are some of the factors that play into a team performing so much better at home versus on the road in your experience?
Atmosphere is a big reason. I think T-Mobile always has a good atmosphere. Not only myself, I'm from the area, so I'm a little biased, but even guys I played with over the years, this was always one of their favorite cities to go, just because it's just a good place to play baseball. The weather's always really nice, and the fans come out, and we, good, bad, or indifferent. It's a pretty loyal fan base. They love their sports here, so that has a lot to do with it. It's easy to buy into a team when it's like that and you feel like you're part of the community. And I feel like that's something that happens here. And I'll also say there's a certain comfort level, like the longer your group of guys is with a team, or your core is with a team, they set down roots. They have their families here. Like they don't have a house in another town where their kids are going to school, and then they try to move them again. Like they live here. And some of those guys have done that, made that transition, become Seattleites. So there's a comfort level here as well. And then, it's a pitcher's park. So that's also really helpful. When you're really comfortable, you're sleeping in your own bed, and your park is really, really helpful for you. There's a confidence level that goes with that. And the more that the media calls them a great rotation, they take that to heart and they continue being a great rotation because they're comfortable. So it just looks like they're all at home out there. And that's not always the case for everybody. And reputation and kind of just perception has a lot to do with that. And when you go into a place and hey, I can give up hard hit balls here because they might still not get out. The Coliseum was that for me last year. It was more comfortable throwing strikes there because it's so big, as opposed to like Cincinnati, where you're kind of trying to stay along the edges because if you miss one and it's popped up, it still might be a home run. If you don't have to worry about that, suddenly you're okay making more mistakes than you would maybe otherwise.